Yo, what's going on everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day. Welcome to today's Pokemon Go video. So when it comes to Pokemon Go, I feel like this game can get quite redundant and even boring at times. If you do not set yourself long-term goals, then there really is no point in playing the game. But however, if you give yourself a lot of really good goals, then the game could stay relevant for a very long time, if not forever. And that is precisely what I wanted to talk about in this video. I wanted to talk about some long-term goals that you could go after so that Pokemon Go will be a game that you will be playing for a very long time. Now, this is not the first time that I've made this video. Believe it or not, a couple of years ago, I made the exact same video with the exact same topic, and that video actually performed quite well. And I think a lot of players provided a lot of good feedback regarding what they are doing in terms of long-term goals. However, the game is completely different from how it was back then, and I feel like some of the goals that I mentioned are not necessarily that relevant anymore, mainly because they are either a lot more difficult or they're a lot easier to obtain. So today I wanted to kind of give you an updated list of goals that you can go after so that you can continue to play Pokemon Go for a very long time. So the first goal that I'm going to be talking about is pretty much straightforward, going for every single platinum medal that is currently available in Pokemon Go. Now, back in the day when I mentioned this, it kind of was one of the most impossible goals for you to achieve, and it kind of still remains so, because there are a lot more medals that they introduced over time, and some of those medals require an insane amount of gameplay. Now, there are 3 platinum medals that I can think of that are extremely difficult, and I think they kind of encompass the spirit of collecting platinum medals as a long-term goal. They are the Best Buddy medal, which I did mention last time. That is extremely grindy and it's going to require a lot of effort. There is the new Pokestop Showcases medal, which is incredibly difficult in and of itself. And then finally, there are the new medals related to raiding that were introduced that I think could take you a very long time. Let's talk about the first medal, which is the Best Buddy medal. So this requires you to get hundreds of Best Buddy Pokemon, and getting one Best Buddy Pokemon could take you anywhere from 10 days to 30 days. It's incredibly grindy and it's going to require a lot of work and a lot of resources, and on top of that, you need to have a bunch of Pokemon that you are willing to grind it out for. I think this medal is definitely going to be worth your time, mainly because there are certain gameplay advantages to having Best Buddy Pokemon, and you could also collect a lot of candies as well as Mega Energy along the way. I really think this is one of those medals that is actually going to benefit you as you grind it out. For myself, it took me about a year and a half to get the Platinum Best Buddy medal, and I think that a lot of players could hit it in that amount of time, but some players it might take a lot longer. The reason for that is because when I was going for this platinum medal, I was grinding out like 2 or 3 buddy Pokemon at a time every single day, and it was incredibly tedious and it required so many resources and time, which I don't think not a lot of players will actually have. Now, the second medal that I want to talk about is, of course, the Pokestop Showcases medal. This one is quite insane because you need to win an absolute ton of these Pokestop Showcases in order to get that platinum medal. And the thing is, they are very difficult to win because you need to go up against pretty much every single player in the area, and you need to have the largest Pokemon in your collection. And that means you're going to have to grind it out going for XXL Pokemon, and those Pokemon are quite rare. If you happen to get yourself a ton of XXL Pokemon, then getting this Platinum medal is definitely going to be expedited, but I do think that for the average player who does not have a robust collection of XXL Pokemon, this one is going to be incredibly difficult. But if you pull it off, that's going to net you a lot of bragging rights. And then finally, there's all of the new medals related to raiding. I think some of these are incredibly difficult. Some of them are actually quite easy, but getting the platinum medals for these new medals is going to take you a lot of work, and it's going to require you to make a lot of friends. Something that I noticed with the Pokemon Go community is that it's not necessarily that community based recently. I think a lot of players tend to play by themselves, and it's going to be very rare that you're going to find players that play together quite often. So getting these medals could be really easy for you, or it could take you an extremely long time. But yeah, all in all, going for every single platinum medal, that is a great long-term goal for you to have. If you want to keep Pokemon Go relevant, then going for these medals is definitely going to do that. And in my opinion, I think it's a very good goal because yeah, there's something that's very satisfying about getting platinum medals. It's like you did this insane grind and you got something to show that you did that grind, and I think that's really cool. But next up, let's talk about another stretch goal that I myself have already achieved, but some players have still not been able to do so. And that is to, of course, hit level 50. That is essentially the end game for every single Pokemon Go player. Hitting level 50 requires an insane amount of experience points, but also you need to complete a bunch of tasks in order to hit each level. And a lot of these tasks are for advanced players. You simply cannot just get into it without having a good collection of Pokemon as well as a lot of experience with PvP. Yeah, it's going to be incredibly difficult, and it's going to require a lot of time and effort and a lot of strategizing, and I think it's well worth it because getting yourself to level 50 is definitely worth a lot of bragging within your friends. Now, a third stretch goal that I wanted to talk about is, of course, some of the intangible goals that really is going to be on a case-by-case basis. These are goals like collecting an insane amount of Stardust. Like, there are some players out there who want to get like the highest number of Stardust, like they want to get 100 million Stardust or even 1 billion Stardust. Like, those are some of the goals that are not necessarily going to be important. You don't need to go for 1 billion Stardust to get ahead in Pokemon Go. You could spend all the Stardust that you collect daily as long as you're spending those on the right Pokemon, and you're going to be good to go. But if you want to have certain goals like that for yourself, then yeah, that's definitely going to keep Pokemon Go relevant. And you can get very creative with it. I know one player who wants to get as many Mewtwo candies as he can so that he could hit the candy cap for Mewtwo. I don't necessarily remember what the candy cap is for each Pokemon, but yeah, that is a very interesting goal, and it's really only for them. Like, there's no benefit to having that much candy, right? I mean, sure, anytime you get yourself a really good Mewtwo, you'll be able to power it up without any effort, but I still think like some of these goals are there just for fun, and it's not something that Niantic is going to count. They're not going to give you a medal for it, but it's really just for your personal achievements, and I think those are always really cool. And the fourth long-term goal is going to be quite obvious, but it is to complete the Pokédex. That means collecting one of every single Pokemon currently in the game, and that is definitely going to be difficult because right now there are a lot more Pokemon in Pokemon Go compared to previous years. Now, ever since the last time I recorded this video, there was only the one Pokédex, but now we have Pokédexes for Mega Evolutions, we have Pokédexes for even perfect IV Pokemon, and we also have Pokédexes for shiny Pokemon and different things like that. Completing all of these Pokédexes is definitely going to take a very long time, if not impossible amounts of time. But if you are able to complete most of them, then that is definitely going to be something for you to brag about. So that could be a really nice goal for you to have. I think as of right now, there is not a single player that has completed every single Pokédex that's currently in the game. So maybe you could be the first player to do so. You're going to have to get a bunch of Shadow Pokemon, purify a bunch of Pokemon, have a bunch of shiny Pokemon, collect every single mythical, every single shiny mythical. Yeah, it's insane. But if you are able to pull it off, that's definitely going to make you the best player in the world, without question. And then the fifth and final long-term goal that I want to talk about is also quite obvious, and that is to hit the legend rank in the Go Battle League. This is going to be insanely difficult, and not everyone is going to be able to accomplish it. On top of requiring an insane amount of Pokemon, you will also need to have a lot of gameplay knowledge, and you will need to have almost encyclopedic knowledge of every single Pokemon. Because when you go up against certain Pokemon, you will need to know what counters it, you will need to know like the turn meters and all of that stuff. And it's going to be very important because getting to the legend rank means you will need to beat a lot of players. And on top of that, this is an extremely grindy goal as well because you will need to do PvP battles every single day in order to get this achievement. And it's going to require you to have a collection that's very diverse because you can't just simply roll with the same team and expect to get legend rank. You will need to have a bunch of Pokemon to try out to swap in and out because of the changing meta, and you will also need 100% IV legendaries for the Master League. Yeah, this is incredibly difficult, and only a select few that are really big standouts are ever going to be able to achieve it. But you yourself could work towards that goal. Like, it doesn't matter where you are currently at, if you get yourself a lot of nice Pokemon over time, then yeah, maybe one day you will also be among the legend ranks. But yeah, that is definitely going to require a lot of effort, and it's definitely going to require a lot of grinding, but I really do think that any player is able to do it if they put the time and effort into it. So yeah, these are some of the stretch goals that you could place for yourself in order to keep Pokemon Go relevant. I think when it comes to Pokemon Go, if you do not have any kind of personal goals, then the game is going to get very boring and very redundant very quickly. A lot of people will say that it is Niantic's responsibility to keep Pokemon Go relevant, and to an extent I agree with that. But when it comes to Pokemon Go, it's a giant sandbox. There's just so many things that you could do, and it is very simple of a game, so there's a lot of things for you to be able to do without any kind of roadblocks. So I really do think that if you can come up with some nice goals, you're gonna enjoy Pokemon Go a lot more. I really do suggest it because this game is actually a lot of fun, and I think for every single player, they have different goals, and that's what makes it very interesting. But yeah, in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Now, I would love to know your thoughts down below. What are some of the personal goals that you have for yourself, and how far along are you when it comes to getting to those goals? Definitely share all that in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. If you ended up enjoying it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to every single patron on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the best way you could do so is by clicking on the links in the description below. One of them will take you to my Patreon page, and if you become a paid patron, you get a permanent spot on my in-game Pokemon Go friends list. So if you want to play Pokemon Go with me, like with remote raids or the friendship system, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. Also, if you want to support my channel in a very different way that doesn't require you to spend money, then make sure you go and follow me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula, and I'm on the platforms that you see on screen. Alright, and that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.